All right, welcome everybody to the PinstripeChronicles podcast. I am Tats. I am here with Rob, and we have been off the air ourselves. We want to thank especially the Upper Deck podcast with Chris and Lynn for helping us out yesterday. It was a very good off day for me. Some good family time. Hope everybody did enjoy their time with their family. Everybody went home after the night with all their fingers and toes, and the Yankees spent their 4th of July traveling to Pittsburgh. And if my memory is right, this is our first trip to the National League ballpark with the DH in play. And the one question that I do have for anybody that might be watching or my co-host here, do you think that this is going to change the way that the games are managed on the National League side of it more than any? That they don't have to worry. They don't have the American League pitcher as their automatic out in the lineup, even though the Yankees already have a few automatic outs at the moment. But does that change the way that the National League managers have to navigate the American League teams coming in now?
I mean, a little bit. You still have to, even with the pitcher, you still had to deal with 8 guys that were more than likely decent hitters. I mean, for us, if we had to worry about the pitcher spot, then Sam would be playing in the outfield, so we didn't have to worry about Gallo playing both games. But I don't think it changes too much. It's better, that we have the DH now. And, all you got to do is just game plan for one more hitter. That's really it. Now, for us, that's Stanton, which is a tough hitter to face. A lot of teams, your DH is a pure power hitter. It doesn't change too much, but it's just, it's funny because we're so used to seeing the pitcher hit when we go to a National League park, and now we're not going to see it, and it's about time. But yeah, one more hitter, I don't think it changes a ton. It more so changes how late your pitcher goes into a game, because that pitcher spot coming up, you want to bat in there, but you also don't want to take your pitcher out because he's pitching well. So now the American League managers are really going to benefit from it.
Yeah, so I think the change really is, even though we started with the National League team, the National League manager, the American League manager actually has it, I think, easier now, because you don't have a pitcher that's going to have to bat, for in a game that this might be the only time he has an at bat, throughout the 162 games. So I think that now there's less stress on the American League manager. We don't have to worry about injuries like we have in the past. When Tanaka got hurt was the most recent one. Ching Wang, the way it ended his career. So this is something that the American League teams and fans of American League teams have been really wanting for a while. That this is the first that our team, the New York Yankees, are in that situation. It's less stress on Boone. He doesn't, there's no more double switch and, all these different substitutions and navigating through the pitching. Who's available? Who's not? How do I push him one more inning? So I think that now it's gotten to a situation where there's no more of a difference between American League and National League. It's just a matter of which bracket you're in. I think that's the way that it's got to be looked at now.
Yeah, the only difference now is more so, really isn't much difference, right? It's just, I would say, it's a matter of what coast you're playing on, but there's American League teams on the West Coast anyway. So, yeah, there's really no difference. I don't think there needed to be, because if you look at other sports like football, the NFC isn't different than the AFC. They don't play differently. There's Eastern and Western Conference in hockey and basketball. They don't have different rules than the other. So it was only baseball that had that one thing. That was the only difference. Well, in the National League, the pitcher hits. We don't need it. Not anymore. Not when the DH came around the 70s. It was long overdue. And I think it benefits National League teams too. I know there's still a lot of purists out there that miss it, but it wasn't fun. You got the occasional pitcher hit, like when Cologne hit the home run. You're like, what a moment. But those were so few and far between. It's like it was overdue, and we're going to see that benefit a lot of players because a guy like Nelson Cruz is still playing at the age of 40, 41, whatever he is. And because they have that DH spot in the National League, and there's a chance that he could get moved if a team wants another DH. And even though he's older, it prolongs career. So it was a long overdue move, and I don't miss it because we see a lot of pitchers get hurt. I mean, DeGrom got hurt, I think, one spring running to first base. And it's like, first of all, it was spring training. And then second of all, why is he hitting anyway? Yeah. Like the whole pitcher hitting was just so stupid because they're not conditioned to swing the bat and run the bases. They're just conditioned to pitch. That's what you want your pitcher doing. Not everyone's Ohtani. And he doesn't even like play the field when he's not pitching. He's a DH.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, yeah, the whole pitcher hitting thing was stupid. And I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah, no, as am I. Yeah, I thought it was way overdue. It should have been done years ago. And also there was at one point it was very close to coming to both leagues. I think over 20 years ago, and ironically, it was the owner of the Pirates because they couldn't get a hold of him on his boat. So I had him hostage fishing. And they couldn't get a hold of him, so they couldn't get his vote in. So the pitcher hit the DH never came to the National League. So, yeah. But it's one of those, it was long overdue. It's just going to be like any other baseball game now. And there is no more of a American League versus National League advantage playing it in each other's ballparks. So, overall, I just think that this is that just to now focus on the series itself. This is a 2-game set that the Yankees should be able to take care of handily. After the Cleveland series, is there anything of concern that shows that the Yankees might be? Is there anything that you're worried about?
I'm worried about only getting one hit, in that last game. But I mean, McKenzie's a good pitcher, so I'm not too concerned. But it's a little annoying that whenever we face a guy with good stuff, we're getting like shut down 1, 2, 3 hits, can barely scrape anything across. I mean, that was a little bit annoying, but it was the last game of the series. You kind of saw it wasn't a punt necessarily, but sitting Judge and LeMahieu, and I was like, yeah, they're probably not going to do too much today when you take 2 of your better hitters out. They were just it seemed like they were just content with winning the series, and whatever happened in Game 3 happened. I don't like it, but they had the day off. Like, it wasn't a huge deal. But other than that, the series was fine to me, and I think we should take care of Pittsburgh. We should win both of these games. I know Donald, who just joined us, is going to one of these games. I'm not sure which one, but he is going.
Yeah, the game tomorrow. I'm going to the game tomorrow. So,
nice.
So picking up on your question, Tats. I mean, we've been no hit and we've been one hit over the last couple of weeks. So I think what we really need to acquire is an outfielder that can hit for average. I mean, listen, we've got someone like that in Andujar who once again, I think he really did a nice job when he was the 27th man there over the series, but he got sent down again. So I think that that's my only concern is that we're over reliant on the home run right now. I'd like to get back to where we were at the start of the year, where we were finding different ways to create runs. So as Rob rightly points out, when we face a pitcher that with good stuff, for some reason we get completely shut down. So I think that needs to be addressed. I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that we've got like albatrosses in the lineup, like Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks, Josh Donaldson, blah 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 blah. You go through it that are just really struggling to to hit consistently or hit at all in Gallo's case. So I definitely think that we need one more bat now. I think that's pretty apparent. But we've also got options on the bench. Like Matt Carpenter once again showed that he needs to be getting more playing time. Marwin Gonzalez has shown that he's capable of playing extended playing time as well. So I'd like to see them get an opportunity. In fact, I'd like to see us call Andujar up, because I think that these guys have been really, really productive whenever we give them an extended run. Matt Carpenter especially, he's been terrific. So, I mean, it's obviously very difficult to figure out a way in which getting him extended playing time, but I'd like to see that happen.
You know, it's also leads to question the fact that we have, you know, right as of this morning, a 13-game lead in the division. Are they getting a little too comfortable? Do you think that they would be making moves with a little more urgency if the race was tighter at this point?
No, because they didn't do it last year. They waited until like a week before the deadline when they got Gallo, and then they got Rizzo. Like, was it the day of the deadline or the day before? So they waited, and they were in a far worse position last year than we are right now. So you kind of have an opportunity to experiment right now because of the lead you have, at least from now until the break. So, and I said it on Twitter, like, keep Andujar up here. Yeah. I know he's not tearing the cover off the ball. Like, overall, his numbers are not very great, but what he does offer you is a better at bat. And he's at least, even though he's basically just a singles hitter at this point over the last 3 years, because he's only had a combined like 6 doubles over his last 3 seasons, that's better than what you've gotten from Joey Gallo. And it's you have to have that better at bat. So whether it's Marwin Gonzalez, who I think is the better choice than both of them, playing in left field or right field, we know Stan's going to play the outfield more often now. You have to experiment with some things, at least from now until the break, because the market still hasn't really shown up yet. We've only had one trade, and that was Kansas City moving Carlos Santana. So nothing really significant is happening. And we know Cashman's not going to be the first to make a move. So you really have to wait for the market to show up and what it is, who's giving up for what kind of player. But this is as good of a time as any to see what you have in Andujar from now until the deadline. The thing is, they can't get rid of Carpenter. Right after I said maybe you consider it, he goes and hits 2 more home runs, so they're not getting rid of him. Gallo's not going anywhere yet because he would have been moved if they were going to. And you can't get rid of Gonzalez, and obviously you're not getting rid of your backup catcher, so you have nowhere to put him. The obvious choice is you just get rid of Joey Gallo. But again, they are wanting to get something for him. And I do want to bring up a stat line for you guys because I do think this has a little significance, why I think Gallo does have value. Because last year, just 1 calendar year ago, pre-All-Star break, if I told you these numbers, would you have guessed they were Joey Gallo? 402 on base, 522 slugging, 924 OPS, 239 average. It's not even close to what Gallo is doing right now. 24 homers, 52 ribbies, 72 walks, and a weighted run created plus of 153. If we're getting those numbers right now from Joey Gallo, he's like in the MVP race. So that tells me there's something not there with him in a Yankee uniform. I don't think it's he can't handle New York because he's not getting pitched differently. Watch him the way he's getting pitched in Texas and the way he's getting pitched in New York. It's the same. I think he's putting way too much pressure on him. So a rival GM could say, change of scenery might do him good. I'm not saying we're going to get a ton for him, but they're going to pay significantly less because his contract is half at that point by the time he gets to the deadline. The Yankees will probably have to eat some money to move him anyway, so you might get a team's top 30, someone in their top 30 prospect for him. And if that's better than just simply cutting him and getting nothing, I think you do it. So maybe that's why the Yankees are waiting for when his contract is at the least possible amount that a team would have to pay before they move him. I'm trying to think of reasons why they're holding on to him as long as they have, and that's the only thing I can come up with.
No, you want to try to move him when the stock's a little high. So even though we were talking, late last week, just get rid of him. That's it. That's not good baseball. Especially if even though we have Andujar that could take his place, like you said, even though he's not tearing the cover off the ball, he's still a formidable replacement. And even the thing with Gallo, with the stats that you put out, we were still, and those were the numbers we were going. Oh, that's the guy that everybody was saying, no, trade for Gallo, trade for Gallo. This is what we got, and they're not. I really do think that he's having trouble with the pressure of New York, because you're right. They're not changing the approach of how they pitch him. He's getting himself out. The pitchers aren't getting him out.
Maybe it's a mental thing. He just wants to break out of this, what's been now a calendar year slump, and you're trying to do way too much because he knows he's a home run or nothing guy. So again, if he was just hitting home runs, let's say he had 6 more home runs and 20 more RBIs, his numbers look a lot better. We're not complaining about him because that's Joey Gallo. It's a high home run, high on base, low average hitter. You live with that for another season and you just move on after he's gone. But he's been a liability. And I hate it because I like Gallo. I was happy with the trade. I still don't think it was a terrible trade because we didn't give up players that were going to kill our future. But it's just a shame it didn't work out. But you have to move on. But we know the Yankees play with this imaginary budget. So they're trying to make sure they owe him as little as possible before they move on from him, because they know a team's not going to take his full contract, even though it might be $4 or $5 million. So they're trying to penny pinch, and that's the only thing I could think of. Because normally a player this bad, he's going to get cut no matter how much he's owed. And the same thing goes for Aroldis Chapman, because I don't even want to talk about him.
Oh my God.
You want to talk about Aroldis Chapman?
No, not really.
You want to rant for 13 minutes? Because that was probably the most putrid return from the IL I've ever seen in my life.
There's no longer a low leverage situation for Aroldis Chapman, because he turns every low leverage situation into a high leverage situation because he's completely incapable of finding the strike zone.
No, if I drank, he would turn me into an alcoholic.
No, it highlighted everything that we were worried about, and he didn't even give us time to even go. Maybe he wants. If he wants his job back, maybe he kind of takes a different approach. Did he make any adjustments? No, he didn't make any changes whatsoever. He just came back and it was just picked up right where he left off. And if the Yankees they just keep Holmes as the closer. That's it. I don't want to see him in that ninth inning at all.
I want to see him in the game.
I want to see him in any inning.
Yeah. He threw 2 pitches, and the fastball didn't even touch like 99, maybe a couple of times. The fact that he walked 3 hitters, all 3 hitters he faced, everything that we were concerned about, like you just said, reared its ugly head. One game, we're like, okay, get 3 outs. And then maybe you can be like, all right, he's a 6th inning guy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even want to pitch him against a minor league team.
No.
And he looked okay in those rehab assignments. So you're like, oh, okay, maybe he is healthy. And then he comes back. I don't even know what part of the order he was facing, but he walked like the bottom of the order, I think. And I'm just so sick of the guy. And it's because of that $18 million freaking price tag on him, and he can't get 3 outs. You're worthless. He deserves to be cut and not even worry about it. I can live with Joey Gallo as bad as he's been. Aroldis Chapman is a bad person and a bad player. Get rid of him. I'm so sick of this guy.
No, it really
Imagine didn't have, wasn't as efficient as he has been this year to see when people are struggling. Because I think if this was last year, he probably would have given Chapman another batter or 2. Could you imagine the damage he would have done? I mean, it would have been a safe situation by the time he was finished.
I'm so sick of Chapman. I really am. There are very few players that leave a loss for words. He's one of them. And he's definitely forget Joey Gallo struggles and Donaldson. I think Chapman's the concern. He has turned. He's really becoming that weak link. Even more so with the pitching. He's I can't even.
You
put
can't
my
even
thoughts
speak.
together.
Clearly,
No.
you're not been
I
able
can't
to
even put my
put
thoughts together
a
because
coherent
that's how
sentence.
frustrated he makes me.
It's annoying now because Marinacio's on the IL, but hopefully he's back in the minimum amount of days. But we're going to have to see Chapman at some point in a spot that Marinaccio, and it was Marinaccio that had to bail him out, and those 2 runs scored on outs. I'm like, this guy was pitching with a dead arm, and he was still able to get 3 outs before Aroldis Chapman could get 1. Like, how bad do you have to be? I mean, it's so pitiful, and this guy and people are trying to make excuses for him. I don't think there's a single fan out there that's making an excuse for Aroldis Chapman. I think one thing that every single Yankee fan can agree on right now is that we want him off the team. It's just, there's no point.
But if he was pitching the way that we expected him to pitch, like he did last year in the beginning of the season? Your first day back from the IL, you had a good rehab start, but you still have a little bit of rust. Maybe we're not looking at it as critically as we are, but because of the way he was pitching before he got hurt and the way he's pitching that he's back is no different. That's frustrating.
Well, think about it. Look at his. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but remember when they cracked down on the spider tack and all that, and everyone said, "Oh, it's Garrett Cole that's going to suffer." No, it was Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman was throwing like that with spider tack and with a little bit of sticky stuff to help him out. Since that's been gone, he has been this pitcher almost every single time he's been out there. In fact, it was a year ago, I think on the 3rd, or it might have been yesterday, that he blew a game against the Mets. One of the many games that he blew in the 9th inning last year that would have put us in that top wild card spot. So if you're looking for a reason why the Yankees weren't playing at home for that 1-game playoff, you can point the finger at the $18 million headache.
He blew a ton of games. Ton of games.
And they all conveniently happened after that substance crackdown. So if it wasn't Garrett Cole that needed it, it was Aroldis Chapman.
I think it was grit rather than cheating. I think, he sweats so profusely that I think he struggles to get a grip on the ball. And the ball is just flying left, right, center. Yeah. I think the spider tack might have added an extra bit of grip so that he can, somehow locate it a little bit more. Now there's no location. It's just, good luck, people in the stands, because you guys are in trouble.
He's like Rick Vaughn in the beginning of Major League when he's.
He is. He is.
That actually is a very good comparison.
He's Rick Vaughn without the upside.
Yeah. Maybe we need to get him some glasses and he'll pitch like he did. I can't think of any reason that he's pitching, especially come October. I would like to think that if we get an arm by the deadline, I still think the Cubs are the perfect match for us in a trade because they got 2 things that we could use. Chapman should be gone because Marinaccio is better than him. I trust Ryan Weber more than I trust him. I would trust a returning David Hale, wherever the hell he's pitching right now, over him. I trust anybody over Aroldis Chapman. He should be off this team, but he's still here. He's still here. Banuelos was traded for cash considerations, and he was pitching better.
I think that's a really good point there. It's like the Yankees are trying to draw blood from a stone at this point. Yeah. Like, we know that Chapman is done, but the Yankees put so much money into his contract that they're trying to force extract anything possible out of him. And it's the same with Joey Gallo. They gave up a lot in the trade. Now, it wasn't obviously a lot of guys that had a future in New York, so Rob, you're right in pointing out, but it was a lot of guys, and I know that Texas are delighted with this trade because they've won the trade. But, the Yankees, again, and that's the same scenario with underperforming people, extracting blood from a stone because they made a big move, they put themselves out there, all went completely wrong, and the Yankees have trouble accepting that they got things wrong, and it's one of the Brian Cashman's major issues is that he refuses to believe that he's wrong, and he was completely wrong in the Chapman contract, completely wrong, and he was completely wrong in thinking that Joey Gallo was going to fit in New York. He's, A-Rod was really, really strong about this. He's like, no, he's not cut out for New York. He really struggles in the spotlight. That's when you over rely on advanced analytics and you don't rely on scouts, because the Yankees no longer use like scouts. Scouts would have told him Joey Gallo's not cut out for the spotlight. You can just clear it. It's not that he's a bad baseball player. It's not that he's a bad person. He's actually a really good person, and he's a decent modern baseball player, but it's not in the Yankees. Not in the Yankees at all. So they need to accept responsibility, move on from Chapman primarily. If you're paying him to be a closer, but you don't even trust him in like sixth inning mop up role, then you got a problem, and you need to just move on.
So just for fun, let's just take the thought process that if you have to keep one and trade one between Gallo and Chapman, who do you keep and who do you trade?
Well, you can't trade Chapman because no one in their right mind is going to pay more than 15 cents for him and give you prospects. So I guess you have to trade Gallo because at least you get something for him. A team in the West Coast or in the National League is going to say, you know what, he might hit 15 for us in the second half or so. Let's give up a little. Let's give up a little something for him. Nothing significant. Aroldis Chapman, you're not getting a single thing for him. You're lucky if you get this pen back for Aroldis Chapman. So, yeah, I'm keeping Chapman, and I'm gonna punch myself in the face and hit my head against the wall if I'm the GM. But that's the choice you have to make, I guess.
What about you, Donald?
Rob's 100% right. The Chapman is completely untradeable at this juncture. At least you can hide him.
Hypothetical.
At least you can hide him.
In a make-believe world, contracts aside.
Still same thing.
Yeah. Chapman's that bad.
You can hide Chapman in the bullpen. Just hide him, But you can't hide Joey Gallo, man. As I say, he's batting ninth because you can't bat him 10th. He's got to go. He's the one that's been the major issue because Chapman's been hurt for God knows how long, and the Yankees' bullpen's been great. You can still hide Chapman. But Joey Gallo, he's done. He's toast. Let's move on. Trade him.
No, I'm actually I am in agreement with you guys. I think Gallo would be the guy, only because you have position players that can slide into his spot. And it makes more sense if you're going to make an upgrade where you have a terrible pitcher and a terrible hitter. The hitter can help every game, where the pitcher can only help every few games. So you put your odds in the fact that if I can get a player for every day as opposed to every other day or every 3 days, for 1 inning or 9 innings, you always go with the guy that's going to give you the most, to fill the most gaps. So that makes the position player a lot easier, the go-to for replacement.
Aroldis Chapman creates more gaps than he fills in, though. Like the only thing he's
like Donald said, you don't have to pitch. You could just leave him sitting in the bullpen.
But at some point you're going to have to use him. Like you have to use him at some point because someone's going to need a day off, and there's going to be like the guy in the basketball movies, the last guy on the bench. Shit, bring him out. That's basically it's. Eventually, you're going to see him pitch, and it could be in a 10-run game. I know we got a few seconds left, but he'll make it 10-8 before you have to make a move. So he creates more problems and he does fix things.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't have to see him this series, or if we do, there's a big enough lead where it ain't going to hurt. But that is going to wrap things up for us today. You are watching the Pinstripe Chronicles. Hope you enjoy your day. Wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.